I yawned as another prisoner fell to the claws of my nephew Sarnak. Another eviscerated moments later, orange blood covering the makeshift arena. These Alerians don't put up much of a fight, do they? I spoke to no one in particular. Of course not. Chief Claw Zythor chuckled next to me. I pondered how one of our generals could even manage to get this out of shape. I could almost see his fat protrude through the purple scales on his face. I felt sorry for his belt as it was hanging on for dear life, if it had any, to hold his gut from spilling out of his uniform. These lesser beings could not even have a slim chance of defeating Prime Hunter Sarnak. Even if they were over 50 attacking him, they would not even chip off a scale on his noble physique. He continued, fixing his belt for the 4th time now. That poor belt, I mused as I glanced down from the balcony of the former governor house to my nephew as he was snapping the neck of his last victim, covered in blood to the roar of the soldiers standing in the courtyard. His muscles bulged under the purple scales that glistened under the warm evening sun, proving his nobility. His dark blue feathers swayed gently on his head as he looked up to me with a toothy grin as he spoke in a loud voice. I, Prime Hunter Sarnak, dedicate this victory to my uncle, High Chief Vorakar, with the blessing of Vorakar, the eternal conqueror. May our victories be endless and our empire ever grow. For the glory of the empire and the eternal conqueror, I said back with a raised hand and a smile as the soldiers cheered in his name and our deity. I have never been much of a zealous type, but appearance must be held. The younger generation are more fervorous in that regard, especially since the war started. To be fair, I was quite pleased as I heard from the head of the house that we entered another war. It had been too long since we had a conquest. Our house alongside House Zythor and House Necroth were tasked with the subjugation of this planet. It was fitting as each house specialized in different aspects. Ours was land-based military, and I dare say our soldiers are among the best in the Empire, excluding the Royal Guard, of course. House Zythor is known for its excellent navy, and Necroth has one of the largest commercial fleets in our part of the Empire. Cargo ships that will arrive to carry off the cargo to every corner of the Empire, and our house will reap a portion of that profit, since we are the ones that capture said cargo. I rose from my seat and headed back inside the treetop mansion. I must admit their architecture is quite beautiful for a lesser being, although the humidity of this place is not to my liking. Our glorious species evolved on a dry, hot world. We are adaptable to almost any climate, but the dampness leaves my scales a bit itchy. Zythor waddled after me, cursing as he was more bothered by the humidity than I. No discipline, I thought to myself. This damn moisture is going to be the death of me, he spoke as he clawed at the itch on his neck. He's been my friend since we were young, and belonging to House Zythor was a benefit of its own as well. He demanded I take him with us to the surface when we invaded to survey the goods before the cargo trains arrived. I knew that was mostly a lie. He enjoyed toying with the females of the lesser species, especially so now as I forbade him from bringing his concubines to the surface for obvious reasons. It would not surprise me that he has tens of bastards already. We went to have dinner, my personal chef cooking up wondrous meats from my home. My nephew joined in a bit later alongside his father, my second-in-command, Chief Claw Drakorin. Father, you should have seen how weak they were. They are so frail and slow on their feet, Sarnak spoke excitedly. I'm sure they are, but remember, son, they are avian by nature, and on the wing they can swipe at you with the sharp talons on their feet. Your adversaries had their wings bound, so their combat capabilities were more than halved. Drakorin said back, dulling the enthusiasm of his son in the progress. My brother was always hard on his son. He was never quite good enough. A praise from his mouth is such a rarity that if it were recorded, our family would write it down on a slab and keep it as a prized possession. How goes the hunting for the stranglers? I said, sipping on a delicious spirit. Not too well, High Chief. They keep eluding our scouts, and Master Tracker Morgan has lost 3 teams already, he answered back with a hint of frustration. Please, brother, we are among family and friends, no need for titles here, I mused. Always a stickler for the rules, well, that's not surprising. Our family has always been competing. I guess that is part of the reason he is so hard on his son, for the next generation to compete about status and honor. Well, I have no offspring or wife. My work is my life. Yes, Chi. Brother, he spoke hesitantly. The resistance commander has proven to be quite resourceful, ambushing our scouts from afar with snipers in the canopy and scurrying away when our troops get within proper firing range. That is quite perplexing. Have you figured out where their base might be operating? I asked. We have deduced by the ambushes that their hold is most likely in the north, as our scouts on other fronts only seem to find civilian targets that were able to escape the initial attack on the village, he replied with vigor. Very good, and how much is the tally then on the number of goods we have procured, Zythor? I continued. 10,523 that are ready to be shipped out, 2,543 that were useless, actually. Make that 10,519 now, since our glorious champion took out 4 this evening, he said as he raised a glass to my nephew, which increased his spirit. All right, send 300 of our legion to aid the scouts now so they can help them in the morning sweep. That should force the enemy to make a critical error and lead us to their hidden nest, I finished, draining my glass. It will be done, Drakorin said, almost saluting at the table. Uncle, let me join the scouts as well. Sarnak spoke, enthusiasm brimming in his eyes again. I am ready for some real action. I bet you are, nephew, I chuckled back. I don't see why not. Do you object, Drakorin? I said, looking at his mixed feelings about the matter. Some real experience out there would be beneficial for your growth, son. I allow it, he said finally after a bit of a pause. Well, color me surprised. I thought he would be against the matter. Very well, I said loudly. You shall join the reinforcements. Head out to pack after you finish your dinner, I ordered in a playful tone. Thank you, Uncle. Father, I will go pack at once, he said as he saluted and briskly walked out of the room. That boy, Drakorin spoke with a hint of irritation and worry in his voice. You can't protect him forever. I said, this will be a good experience for him, and he is well liked by Morgan and the soldiers. He will be fine. I suppose you are right, he commented back with a deep sigh. The rest of the evening went by as we indulged in the fine food and small talk, old stories, future land claims, and so forth. I went back to my private quarters as they did the same, Zythor smacking his lips at the prospect of enjoying the 2 female captives he picked out of the prisoners. I pity them a bit. He is not a kind master. It was getting close to midnight and I was preparing to go to bed when I got a ping on my personal communication device. Hi, Chief. We have lost communication with 5 of our scouting parties. I blinked a few times as the message was entering my mind. 5 scout parties? At the same time? Something was wrong. My gut feeling was telling me something was not right. I will be coming to the command room, I replied as I hastily got dressed back in my uniform and strutted out. Send a message to Chief Claw Zythor as well, I commanded in a hurry. It will be done, High Chief, the communication officer spoke back. I entered the command center and all the officers saluted. Get back to your respectful duties, I said in a calm tone. Drakorin was already at the center table watching a live feed on the holographic screen in front of him, anger and worry written all over his face. What do you mean he is missing? He shouted, teeth bared at Morgan, who was on the other end of the call. Chief Claw, calm yourself. We are already sending a party to his last known location. They should arrive shortly, Morgan said back calmly. I entered next to Drakorin. What happened, Morgan? Give me the details, I said calmly, though with a hint of urgency in my tone. Hi, Chief, sir. We have lost communication with the 5 scout parties that we sent out simultaneously, and Prime Hunter Sarnak went with the night hunters. We are currently sending out search parties to figure out what happened, Morgan replied. Figures, of course, he would want to go out as soon as he arrived, and with the experienced ones as well. He would have no better protection than them out there. So why did they go silent? Why did all of the scouts go silent? That stupid boy, of course he would want to go with the veterans out to hunt, Drakorin muttered angrily. Let's calm down, Drakorin. Morgan, how long until the search party arrives? I asked in a hurry, trying to calm my brother in the progress. They should be arriving now. Should I patch you into the video feed, High Chief? He asked respectfully. Yes, I said, the gut feeling getting more intense now. The screen split in 2 as one half showed the live feed of the soldiers arriving at the scene where the communication was cut. It was a large clearing on the forest floor, stacks of equipment laid around with the hovercraft on one side. My stomach squeezed as I saw Zyran bodies sprawling all over the clearing, with holes in their head from projectile weapons or wounds from blades to the body or neck, terror written all over their face. I stood in silence, mortified by the scene in front of me. Some operators were staring at the screen from their post, fear glistening in their eyes. 30 elite soldiers all dead, no enemy combatants in sight, though laser singes on the trees around showed that the troops shot around them, shooting blindly in all directions before their end. Outside the view of the video feed came a voice from one of the soldiers. "Sir Hunter, we found a survivor. It's Prime Hunter Sarnak." Drakorin almost jumped up in relief as he had a cold, hard stare before. "Is he all right? Is my son all right?" He shouted into the screen. The camera moved towards the location of Sarnak, where he huddled in between two boxes. The feathers on his head stood on end. He was quiet, seemingly frozen in fear. "Prime Hunter Sarnak, are you all right?" The hunter on the screen spoke with caution as he put his hand on Sarnak's shoulder. His head jumped up as his hands grabbed his rescuer's arm, claws digging into his armor. No, they are still here. They are watching, don't make a sound," he pleaded, tears running down his face. "Who is still here? Who is watching?" the hunter asked in a frightful tone. The shadows are here. They killed everyone. Blurs of black mist toyed with us, terrorized us, killed us off one by one until I was left all alone. I hid here, but they found me. The shadow stood in front of me, piercing blue eyes fixed on me as it said, "Ah, a noble." Then it vanished into thin air. I slammed my hands on the table and yelled, "Get my nephew out of there, it's a trap!" As soon as I said those words, two soldiers guarding the perimeter of the clearing got their heads pierced, no sound, no laser flash, and dropped down, pools of purple blood spewing from their heads. "Get out of there now!" I yelled as the soldiers on the screen frantically tried to find an enemy to shoot at. The hunter pulled my nephew from his hiding place and painstakingly dragged him towards the running hovercraft. Laser shots were blaring in the background, shooting wildly into thin air as 3 more soldiers dropped dead from invisible enemy fire. They managed to get into the hovercraft as the laser fire died down behind them. The hunter yelled at the hovercraft operator as he entered with Sarnak. "Get us out of here now!" He turned his head back to the clearing. One soldier stood in the middle of the carnage, staring at them with wide eyes as 2 sleek silver blurs stuck out of his chest. As he fell to the ground motionless, a figure stood in his place. It was as his nephew said. In the video feed stood a figure made of black smoke with 2 silver blurs stuck to its arms, its blue mechanical eyes fixed on the screen. It didn't move as the hunter raised his rifle and shot at its eyes. The shot moved as a red line across the ground, but the figure merely tilted its head to the side as the shot missed it, hitting a tree trunk behind it. Yet it didn't move, simply kept staring with those disturbing blue eyes. "Get moving already," the hunter yelled as the operator was stunned silent by the scene unfolding before him. The hovercraft hummed as they began moving away, the hunter never taking its eyes off the shadow, and the shadow never taking its eyes off the hunter. As soon as they were about 50 meters away, the shadow vanished. I stood at the command table, eyes glued to the screen as the camera feed ended. "What was that thing?" Drakorin muttered, stunned. "I don't know, but it is an enemy and a dangerous one at that," I said, trying to keep myself composed, fear trickling down my spine. "Operator, put out a command to every officer within 50 units to be on high alert and get me a call to the ships in orbit," I ordered. "Right away, Head Chief." Head Chief, I can't seem to reach the ships in orbit or anyone outside the headquarters for that matter. Sir, we are being jammed." I felt the air getting cold and my scales bristled. I could only mutter a single word in response. "Shit."